The new year has brought new rules to Social Security. The question becomes, what do you need to know to get what's coming to you? We'll be covering all that and more right here on today's show. Hi everyone, I'm David Scranton. And every year does seem to bring new changes and new adjustments to the Social Security program. And of course, this year is no exception. Changes for 2022 include a higher taxable wage cap and the biggest cost of living increase since the 1980s. What they don't include, however, is an approved plan to protect the program for the future, something we'll talk about as well as a lot more right here on today's show, Social Security, what's new for 2022. Specifically, we'll cover the impact of today's high inflation rate on Social Security, the importance of trying to maximize your benefits, and what may or may not be in store for your benefits in the future. Now, as you probably know, the Social Security that you collect during your retirement is income you earn. How? By paying into the program throughout your working years. You see, the total amount of your earnings that are subject to Social Security taxes, or that line item on your pay stub called FICA taxes, is actually capped each year. But periodically, the government raises this cap to keep benefits aligned with inflation, which today is at a 40-year high. Why? Partly because the Social Security wage cap has risen from $142,000 last year to $147 this year. In fact, from 2017 to now, the Social Security wage cap has increased by nearly $20,000, which is over a 15% increase. And as a result of these increases, high-income workers have been paying that much more in Social Security taxes, or FICA taxes, each and every year. But you know what? So have their employers. But now, let's take a look at what today's high inflation means for beneficiaries or recipients of Social Security. Well, quite simply, it's the largest cost of living adjustment, or COLA, as I mentioned, in 40 years. This year, more than 64 million people will see their benefits increase by almost 6%. And of course, that sounds wonderful on the surface, right? But remember that the current inflation rate is almost 7%, and it's expected to go higher. So even with the big increase, Social Security still isn't really keeping in pace with inflation. And historically, it never really has. The Senior Citizens League, which is an advocacy group, estimates that the average Social Security benefit has lost almost a third of its buying power since the turn of the century. And it gets worse because even in a year with a high cost of living adjustment like this year, the increase is usually negated, at least in part, if not altogether, by increased premiums for Medicare Part B coverage. In 2022, the Medicare Part B premiums are set to rise by 14.5%, one of the biggest jumps in the program's history. All of this highlights the importance of accurately trying to prepare for the long-term effects of inflation in your overall retirement income strategy. Now, one of the keys to doing that is trying to maximize your Social Security benefits. That begins with the crucial decision of when to start taking these benefits. And as you probably know, you can start taking your Social Security benefits anytime between age 62 and 70. But to get your full benefits, you need to wait until at least your normal retirement age, NRA or FRA full retirement age, to start collecting. Now, if you were born between 1937 and 1959, then that full retirement age is somewhere between age 65 and 66 years and 10 months. If you're born in 1960 or later, that full retirement age is 67. The earlier you claim before NRA, the more your benefits will be reduced. If you claim at age 62, the first year you're eligible, you'll get a 25% reduction in your benefits. Conversely, for every year you delay taking Social Security after the full retirement age, you actually get an 8% increase per year in your benefits, topping out at age 70. Now, based upon all this, it would seem that the key to trying to maximize your benefits is a simple matter of waiting as long as possible to take them, right? But here's the truth. Timing is only one important factor. And even that decision isn't always as simple as it might seem. But it is important to get it right when working to create a retirement plan that keeps pace with inflation and a plan that meets or exceeds your income needs. That goal may become even more important in the years ahead. And here's why I believe that to be true. You see, for decades, analysts have agreed that shoring up Social Security for the future probably requires drastic action. But so far, no action has been taken. Social Security benefits are actually getting paid from two trust funds: the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Fund, OASI, and then the Disability Insurance Fund. Both funds are expected to be depleted by 2034. So that's 12 years away. And according to the Social Security Administration's 2021 annual report, retirement benefits will be paid on schedule until 2033. After that, if the fund is allowed to empty and run dry, then only 76% of the scheduled benefits will be paid after 2033. To avoid this, Congress is going to have to do something. They're going to have to make changes to replenish the fund. Increasing the Social Security tax cap periodically, yeah, it helps, but it won't solve the projected shortfalls. And unfortunately, you don't need me to tell you that counting on Congress to agree on a solution to any problem these days seems like pure fantasy. Hopefully it happens, but the problem itself highlights a point that I stress frequently. Today, more than ever before, the responsibility of securing your financial future through reliable income is up to, guess whom? Is up to you. So now it's time to bring in today's guest, Mike Burleigh, the founder and president of Peak Capital Management, a retirement income store located in Stuart, Florida. Mike, always great to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dave. Good to see you.
So a couple things have changed, primarily the cost of living raise that we've seen this year, but most of Social Security has really stayed the same, has it not?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they got a COLA close to 6%, but the Part B Medicare premiums went up, so it's kind of a trade-off. They kind of give it to you in one hand, take it back on the other.
Yeah.
So it probably isn't going to make a big difference for most retirees who are collecting benefits at this point.
Yeah, Medicare Part B went up by over 14%. So you're right. Give us with this hand, take it back with the other. But how about, why else though? Why else is it that the way Social Security Administration calculates inflation is usually much different from the real rate of inflation that our clients actually feel in their wallets?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're not calculating the price of gasoline, food. There's certain things that are left out there. So it's not, it's not realistic for most people. The questions we get are, mainly today, is Social Security going to be there for me? That's a big concern for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Then the next question is, well, how much am I going to receive? And of course, that depends on, how much they paid into the system over their lifetime, and then what's the best time to apply. So it's a concern for a lot of pre-retirees. For most people, Social Security is going to amount to 40 to 60% of the retirement income. Yeah. I mean, the average person works 90,000 hours. So, when they're ready to turn these benefits on, you want to get the most you can out of the system.
Yeah, and think about it. So let's break down some of the things you said. How much are you going to get? Well, let's say the average benefit's $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year. How much money would someone have to have invested in a lump sum, generating a reasonable rate of interest or dividends, to replace that $2,000 a month?
$2,000 a month, $24,000 a year. I mean, you're going to need close to $700,000.
Yeah. So people realize the benefit of it. It's like the government giving you a check for $700,000 essentially, because that's how much you'd have to save and invest on your own in your 401k to replace that. But the difference is you have your 401k, you feel like it's your money. This question that you hinted toward a moment ago with Social Security is it going to be there at all? So are you worried about the future of Social Security? For some of your younger clients, is it going to be there? And if so, how might it be different?
Well, for most of your viewers who are baby boomers, probably not going to be an issue. Latest, best information we can get is they can pay out for another 12 years what's on the statements. And if anybody ever looked at their Social Security statements, these say estimated benefits, not guaranteed benefits.
True.
So according to Social Security, the Office of Chief Actuary, we've got 12 years, and then those payments or benefits are going to drop to 78%. Now, that's with no changes to the system if they don't shore up the system. They're looking at a number of things to do to shore up the system. Raise the retirement age is one. Also, maybe the COLAs for retirees are not going to be as strong as they were in the past. Right now, they cap the maximum income that you pay into the system at $147,000. So higher income earners are not paying in anything above that $147,000. Now your employer still does, but the income earners themselves are not. So we could see that change. So I would say for baby boomers, probably not a lot to worry about. I mean, some concern for our children, people in their 30s and 40s. I'd say all bets are off there.
So you said one of the questions they always have is how to take it in order with the goal of maximization. So because most things haven't changed about Social Security this year, most has stayed the same, do you find that people really understand how to take it, how to maximize it? Or is that still, even though it stayed the same over the years, relatively speaking, is that still a pretty significant source of confusion for most folks?
Yes, it is. Because when you think about it, there's a range. You can take Social Security as early as 62, or you can wait till 70. Yeah. Well, there's always a trade-off. If you take it early, you're going to get a 25% haircut, if you will, as opposed to if you would have waited till your full retirement age. Conversely, if you let it roll up after your full retirement age, you're going to get an 8% credit for 4 years. So some of you out there are doing the math, right? 25% haircut if I take it early, 32% if I wait. That's a 57% swing in benefits over your lifetime. Say you're a married couple, you could have 30 years. So now you can see where it can make a huge difference. We have some pretty sophisticated software that we use to run scenarios for people, and we found differences between $100,000 and $200,000 of lifetime benefit payouts, depending on how you access these benefits and at what age.
And it's more complicated, of course, when you are married, not just because you've got two decisions to make, but also because of the way the death benefits work, right? If one spouse dies, the other spouse might get a pay raise.
Well, when one spouse dies, the surviving spouse is going to step into the shoes of the deceased spouse, the higher benefit. But at the same time, you still lost an income in that household, right? Because you had two Social Security payments coming in. So there's still a lost income. So you have to be cognizant of the fact and plan for that to replace that through either retirement accounts or investment accounts down.
So essentially, you're planning for the person that you think is going to live the longest in many ways with that. And that's why investing for income, goes hand in hand in general. The beloved topic we always like to talk about, investing for the interest and dividends, right? Not necessarily capital gains, goes hand in hand with Social Security because, again, the lump sum equivalent of the Social Security benefit could be $500,000 to $1 million. So Social Security, does go hand in hand with this income concept, but it also does affect to some degree which option you might take in Social Security, when you take your option, and those various factors, correct?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to take Social Security early, you're going to have to supplement that with other income. If you start with a liquidation method, let's say out of a stock portfolio, maybe the best you could do is 2% today without running out of money, right? 2%, it really isn't that attractive, and it's probably not going to be enough to supplement if you take it early.
Yeah, and if you take it late, the opposite's true. If you take it late and you take it at age 70, but you want to retire at 65, you might have a 5-year period where you've got to fill that gap, which means your investments have to be allocated in such a way that you can go in and take principal for a few years without doing too much damage to your portfolio if you get stuck in a market downturn, right?
Well, yeah, ideally, if you could, pull, say, a 3 to 4% dividend on a stock portfolio, Yeah, maybe you'll have to liquidate a little principal, but it wouldn't be terrible, and plus you got that 8% roll up for 4 years. Where can you get an 8% guaranteed raise for the next 4 years, right?
Yeah, no kidding. If we can give our clients CDs guaranteed to make 8% a year, everyone would be jumping at it. We wouldn't have any left. Final thoughts about why it's so important to do the Social Security maximization planning several years before retirement.
Well, you have to plan for this. I mean, hope isn't a strategy, right? You can't just sit around and hope things work out. You have to put a plan together. Usually, I would say 5 to 10 years prior to your retirement. And at least you have a track to run on at that point.
Yep, makes sense. Don't wait till the last minute. Just like tax time, you may be able to wait till April 14th to get your taxes done, but don't wait for last minute to plan how you're going to take Social Security. Mike Burleigh, as usual, our pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dave. Great.
Thank you for watching today's video, Social Security, what's new in 2022. If you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up button to give us a like, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for new content each and every week.